Alright, y'all, let's do it. It is February the 24th, 2018, and let me start off this video by saying there is no one who's more concerned with the safety of children than myself. I'm sure that a lot of people are extremely concerned with the safety of children. Alright, so let's just all agree upon that. We're all very concerned with the safety of children. That being said, we got ABC News on deck for us, and they got a video titled alleged shooter stopped at Walmart and McDonald's. It's funny how ABC News is saying alleged shooter because we don't have proof. They're saying alleged shooter stopped at Walmart and McDonald's after the school massacre, said authorities. Now, I do want to point out that in and of itself is quite retarded, and pretty much nobody on earth would ever, even if they were driven to murder all sort of people, they wouldn't stroll into the Walmart and then go hang out at the McDonald's and things of this nature. And it's very reminiscent actually of that Adam Lanza, another situation that never quite made sense, in which supposedly the police immediately arrested him with the greatest of ease and took him to the Burger King. I wish I was making that up. I wish I was. Alright, but we're going to go through this situation in which the murderer here absolutely does the unthinkable because it's unbelievable, because it never did happen. But after murdering all sort of people, he calmly blended into the crowd and went to McDonald's. Of course, that's where you would go to immediately after you murdered people, because of course you probably built up a strong hunger. Let's go ahead and start the video.
That suspect coming into sharper focus tonight as well. 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz now charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder. Tonight, what we're now learning about his childhood: he was adopted. He then lost that father as a boy. Then the mother who adopted him dying of the flu just months ago.
Alright, let's stop and unpackage that and unwrap that real quick, okay? I want it just to be clear that this man with the nice hair and everything, he's saying that this boy, and we're gonna paint a picture for you. Nikolas Cruz, he had probably some of the worst situations that people know about. Nikolas Cruz has had to live through that. For some reason, it seems that his parents might have died, or they simply weren't around, or I think they might have died. And then, according to this man with the nice hair and the nice little shirt that he's got unbuttoned right there, according to this guy, who's not a narcissist, well, what he's saying is that our boy Nikolas, he was adopted, all right, by a man who adopted him. This is like, what happens with children who are orphans sometimes. They get adopted, and then what this man's about to explain for you to know is that the man who adopted Nikolas, just to make the situation even worse, he winds up dying. All right, you can imagine the person who adopted you when you're like 3-4 years old, he winds up dying. All right, that might be very significant to your psyche, and it might affect you in ways that people just don't understand. All right, and that's probably normal. All right, the situation happening is not normal. Your parents both being dead, and then the foster parent having adopted you, he then dies, and you had to grow up basically in a situation that a lot of people will never feel in their lives, in which you very much are on your own. Because here's the thing, even recently now, your adopted mother, now she dies. And mind you, it took a while to unpackage that, but here's the thing, how much you want to bet, and I know this has nothing to do with anything, but how much do you want to bet that adopted mother received her flu shot? Do you want to go back in the medical records? Because that could be easily done. But no, nobody's going to talk about that. I bet you she got the flu shot. I bet you she did. And then I bet you she died from the flu. I bet you that's what happened. You can show me proof, but you won't. Here's the thing. He's describing that, and that's a terrible situation. That's a situation that most people can't hardly fathom. I'll tell you, I can't hardly fathom it. All of that. And so now people are painting this person out to be a monster, saying, oh, he was depressed, oh, he was kind of a troubled child. They're going to go into it in great detail. Let's check out what they have to tell us.
And his troubling posts on social media where many signs missed. ABC's Tom Yamas at the jail here in Fort Lauderdale where Cruz is being held.
Today, the 19-year-old accused of hunting down and killing 17 people at his former high school led into court in shackles.
Are you Nicholas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go! Authorities now retracing his steps.
All right, let's just stop. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't have much to do with anything, but note that Jacob is a biblical name. And note that we have accused this autistic boy of doing the unthinkable and perhaps the impossible. And we're cool with that, even with no evidence. All right, we're talking about that we want to get to the bottom of it. All right, so they're discussing this monster of a boy who they won't let you hear him speak. All right, but obviously he's been through a lot.
Accused of hunting down and killing 17 people at his former high school led into court in shackles.
Are you Nicholas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go! Authorities now retracing his steps in the aftermath of the rampage. The alleged gunman on the run for about an hour. Police say Cruz stopped by a local Walmart and a
Before we get into the stopping by the local Walmart and the Subway to buy a drink, which is totally, absolutely beyond absurd, let me just briefly mention what's already known. Is this young boy, for as prepared as the school was, this young boy just spent about an hour just wandering around, going to like Subway, going to Walmart, going to the McDonald's, just chilling out for about an hour after the shooting. And the shooting took place, I don't know, over a long period of time, it seems. I don't know, he killed 17 people. So then he easily, you understand, none of this is making sense. It shouldn't make sense. It's silly. All right, so let's just double back a little bit, see what exactly it is they're saying before they say he went to the Subway.
The aftermath of the rampage. The alleged gunman on the run for about an hour. Police say Cruz stopped by a local Walmart and a Subway where he bought a drink. He then stopped into this McDonald's. He was finally spotted by Michael Leonard, a police officer from a nearby city. Officer Leonard had decided to join the search and start...
All right, so that's basically the breakdown. Officer Leonard, he wound up finding the killer. Obviously, after the killer had time to frequent the Subway for a drink and then go to the Walmart and then also go to the McDonald's apparently and just do all sort of things for about an hour. And that's how prepared these people were. I mean, it's a totally different video, but I saw the security guard for the school explain to you that he was absolutely not prepared for the situation. And in fact, he almost started crying like a little girl for some reason. That's a security guard at the school. All right, so it's absolute over-the-top miserable failure, and then that the children were actually terrified into frozen submission for about an hour, and meanwhile the killer just wandered around Subway and Walmart and McDonald's and everything like that, and when they finally get to arresting him, they do it with the greatest of ease. Now let's hear from the person who was arresting him.
Started driving down a back road when he spotted someone who fit the suspect's description. Maroon shirt, black boots.
You look like a typical high school student.
Yeah, you
and
did.
For a quick moment, I thought, could this be the person?
All right, so he's already lending to you very openly and publicly that he did have doubt in his mind simply because it doesn't make sense. No one would be so calm and collected out in public going to the McDonald's. If anything, they would be hiding somewhere in private. But anyways, so he lets you know he doesn't exactly know what's going on. So, but he's going to continue to still talk. So check this out.
Is this who I need to stop?
You see Cruz here, taken down and handcuffed. And tonight, authorities scouring his social media accounts, searching for clues and a possible motive.
Some of the things that come to mind are very, very disturbing.
Sources tell ABC News.
All right, see, this is the bulk of all the evidence that they're going to give you, is this. Notice how he's got a damn burqa over his face. You can't even see his face. Who is this? Can anybody tell me who this is? Oh yeah, he's got a completely white background. Also, he must be the only one who's got white walls behind him and a mask. And a mask over his whole entire face to include his pupils and his eyeballs. All right. See, this is the bulk of the evidence that they're going to give to you, and I want to shoot it down immediately. First of all, they're going to try to convince you, okay, this is what he did. This is what Nikolas Cruz did, even though it does not have his face on it. It does have a picture. Guess what? Anybody can download pictures of me and do whatever they want with them. If they can download pictures of you, do whatever they want with them. They got this one picture of him holding up a BB gun. Oh, congratulations. Y'all really cracked the case. And then you got someone with a complete total mask over their face, and you want me to believe it's Nikolas Cruz, even though with the greatest of ease, anybody could make a profile and call it Cruz Nicholas, just like this is done, right? And I want to tell you something about trolls if you don't know, because obviously you don't know. But I can let you know from a personal experience is that trolls don't use their name, all right? Whether or not they know that they can be found out, and yes, of course it can be found out through IP addresses and all the rest. But the thing is, they don't use their name. They don't, because as retarded as they are, they're smart enough to know that, they should at least not use their name. They should make up a different name, an alias. So you expect me to believe that this guy went through the trouble? I mean, it's complete up and down, side to side retardation when you're expecting me to believe that he went through the trouble of putting a whole entire mask over his face, and then he put his government name on the damn profile of his Instagram and his YouTube account, where he put nefarious, threatening comments, completely, totally random comments, and meanwhile he used his government name, which does not make one lick of sense, you guys. Not one. All right, let's just continue.
This was Cruz's Instagram account. This photo shows him holding
BB
a pistol.
gun.
In another, he's holding a
Here's
large
a mask.
knife.
Who is this?
Investigators now piecing together the suspect's background. We know he was adopted as a baby.
Adopted as
but
a baby.
His adoptive father died when he was just 4 years
Wow.
old. Cruz, raised by a single mother. But late last year, she died as well.
Wow.
Unexpectedly, of the flu. Cruz then...
Like I said, I mean, with the greatest of ease, we can get the medical records and find out whether or not this lady in particular had received the flu shot, but you ain't never gonna want to look into that, huh? Oh, you don't want to listen to my gut feeling on that one, do you? No. But she just died. A number of people have died throughout this young boy's life. You might, if you put yourself in his shoes, you might feel not only, number one, kind of depressed, but you might feel as though that you really, really had to look after yourself because nobody's there to protect you. Literally, they're all dying on you. So you might look at a gun and say, damn, dude, I don't have nobody else to protect me. I've been through all sort of situations and scenarios and nobody knows. So I might want to protect myself. Right? I'm the only one out here looking out for me. All right, my adopted mom just died of the dang flu. No, we're not going to find out whether or not she got the flu shot. That's silly. That's silly. Let's continue.
And went to live with the family of a friend. The family's lawyer tells us he at one point had been in therapy.
I don't know how it's like news. I don't know how it's news for you to tell me that he was in therapy. Obviously, this young boy should be in therapy. He should have been in therapy. It's like ever since he could remember the type of situations he'd been put in. No, but you want to say, oh, he'd been in therapy, trying to incriminate him, trying to make him seem like a, this means he's a monster. Of course he's in therapy because he was a monster. That's the picture you're trying to paint.
Cruz brought his AR-15 assault rifle with him. The family's lawyer telling us he kept it locked in a gun safe. This is the neighbor.
And just to mention, there's also a testimonial with the foster parents who are not his parents, who weren't even his original foster parents. There were just some people who took him in recently when his original foster parents had died. All right, so they took him in and had the sense enough to know, let's put the guns, although we're not going to steal from this young boy and take away all his rights as an American, we are going to take the guns, put them in a safe because that's safer to do. And we're not going to give him the key. And that is exactly what happened. And yet still you got to have people who want to try to deny that happened, even though it obviously happened. So we're going to continue with this video before we run out of data.
Neighborhood where the alleged shooter grew up. It's a nice neighborhood. The homes are big, the lawns are well maintained. Neighbors say it's such a normal place that someone like Nikolas Cruz really stood out.
Aggressive, crazy, weird, psycho.
Brody speak.
Brody was telling us, I couldn't even make this up if I wanted to. Brody was telling us that he was aggressive, weird, kind of psycho. Hey, Brody, could you be just a tad bit more specific? Could you be descriptive in any sort of sense? What do you mean? What do you mean when you say that? Could you elaborate? Let's hear him elaborate.
Spent nearly a decade a few doors down from Cruz.
Decade,
He
huh?
remembers Cruz having a violent side, even at a young age.
He like cornered a squirrel and was like pegging like rocks at it, like trying to kill it. Like it was just weird.
Former classmates also painted
All right,
Twitter
wait, nope, stop it, Brody. Hey, you said he was throwing rocks at squirrels, so that means obviously he was demented and destined to be a school shooter. Brody, stop. You said he was throwing rocks at squirrels as a young kid whose parents had died, might not have like total supervision over him all the time. You said he was a psycho and a destined school shooter because he was throwing rocks at squirrels as a young boy. How many hundreds of thousands to maybe millions of children do you think recently, over the past couple of decades, even still have been throwing rocks at squirrels? Or maybe they got a BB gun and they're shooting them at squirrels. It's actually a natural thing built into their DNA that they can't even help. Because all throughout their ancestry, people have been hunting. All right, and as young children, they can't help it. They have it in them to maybe throw a rock at a squirrel. Does that make you a school shooter? Does that mean you torture animals? No, it doesn't. Let's continue.
twisted picture. They say Cruz was obsessed with guns and was disciplined for bringing bullet casings to school.
About a year ago, I saw him upset and I was like, what's up with you? He's like, I swear to God, I'll shoot up this school.
He was ultimately
All right, so the person told you that he got in trouble for bringing bullet casings to school. Now, of course, we have no idea what the context was. Of course, you can't shoot someone with a bullet casing, just so you know. That's completely like, what's the worst you could do to somebody with a bullet casing? So he brings a bullet casing. Under what context? They won't tell you. Did this really happen? I don't know. Where's the evidence of it? All right, but they're going to tell you it happened, and then they're going to point out to some young guy being totally irrelevant to what you just said. The young guy, he's like, oh yeah, one time a couple years ago, he was so angry, and he's like, oh man, I'm just shoot up the school, I swear. All right, again, how many hundreds of thousands of children do you want to bet have said those exact words in public at their public school? Do you want to arrest all of them? Do you think they're all shooters and killers? All right, this is the evidence we're being given. It's killing me. It's killing me, y'all, but we're going to continue.
expelled. And there were other signs of trouble. In September, video blogger Ben Benite saw a disturbing comment on his YouTube page. A commentator with the name Nicholas Cruz posting, "I'm gonna be a professional school shooter."
All right, so, okay, let's go back. Let's just go back so that we can read it and stuff. Mind you, the narrator of this whole thing, his voice sounds very narcissistic to me. Take that for what you will. His voice sounds very narcissistic. All right, but he's pointing out, hey, check this out. Hey, you see this profile with nobody's picture on it that says Nicholas Cruz? It says, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. Did that even have context in and around the video that was made? I don't know. Who knows? I don't. Was there any context around it? And the better question is, how in the world is this Nicholas Cruz? How in the world is it? Because if you're going to go out on the limb and be intelligent enough to know that people are threatened when they hear that, you're going to be a professional school shooter, first of all, people don't get paid. That doesn't make sense. People do not get paid to be school shooters. So how in the world would a person think that they're going to be a professional? I don't know. But if you're going to be a troll and put this kind of rhetoric or this kind of language on the internet, 100% what I can guarantee you is you're not going to use your government name. You're going to use a different name. And you're going to do it with the greatest of ease. All right? So let's continue.
I'm gonna be a professional school shooter.
I found that to be odd and disturbing, so...
Yeah, I found it to be odd and disturbing as well, guy. Let's continue. Continue, please.
So I forwarded that screenshot to the FBI, and
The FBI tonight
I forgot that was the guy that reported it to the FBI. And what they're about to tell you is that the FBI, even with this information that they were given, they could not follow up. They knew about it and could not follow up, could not intervene, could not do not a damn thing. And see, this is confusing people. I want to break it down. The reason that they couldn't do anything is because they found out shortly upon any sort of investigation that it was in fact not Nicholas Cruz making these posts, right? Because the whole idea would be absurd. Why would you use your own name? Even the most retarded of trolls out here know to not use their own name. So why would you do that? But yeah, he did that. This is absolute proof that he actually didn't do that. Why would people accept this as evidence? Doesn't make any sense, does it? No, let's continue. Just go ahead and continue.
Saying they tried but could not track down who that user was.
And Tom Llamas joins us tonight from outside the jail where Nicholas Cruz is being held. And Tom, we have heard about his difficult childhood. You reported there on neighbors and classmates talking about his fascination with guns, disciplined in school, ultimately expelled.
All right, so he was disciplined in school, ultimately expelled. Things of this nature. They're talking about his background. Talking about, like, oh, obviously he was a threat, and even the FBI dropped the ball sincerely. Thing is, like I said, again, that was not Nicholas Cruz making those comments on YouTube. That probably was not him in the pictures with a mask all over his entire face. Probably not. All right, it really is that easy. And this person, he's going to talk about solutions real quick. And so I'm going to just give him the floor for one more quick second before we dive further into the retardation.
About his difficult childhood. You reported there on neighbors and classmates talking about his fascination with guns, disciplined in school, ultimately expelled.
All right. So notice how what he just says is very brief. His fascination with guns, what does that mean? Many Americans are fascinated by guns. Many people around the world are fascinated by guns. Right. So he had a fascination with guns. What does that mean? He had disciplinary problems. What does that mean? I know you want to be very brief about it, but what does that even mean? All right. He had a rough childhood, just to let you know, guy with the nice hair. So let's continue.
Watching around the country tonight are going to say there were a lot of warning signs here.
So many red flags, David, and tonight his mental state is of major concern. His legal team tells us he's on suicide watch here at the jail, and his...
Thanks to this guy, man. Thank you, guy, for telling us what everybody knew anyways. He's like coming to us with the news, and he's saying, look, you guys, here's breaking news. This is an update so that you know. This killer is on suicide watch and all the rest. It's like, dude, we already know what policy is. You're not telling us anything. Guy, what are you telling us? Let me just let you continue.
His lawyer's also telling us that he has struggled with mental illness throughout his life and had significant trauma when his mother recently passed away.
All right, we're going to stop at that fool's face on here. So it's highly appropriate that the situation ended the way it did. Like obviously, as a parent, they're definitely trying to incriminate this child with zero evidence, and let's just hear the very last thing that he says, because it proves to be quite poignant, and it just kind of puts the icing on top of the cake of retardation. Listen.
Illness throughout his life and had significant trauma when his mother recently passed away.
All right, Tom Llamas, what you're proving is that you are sincerely confused and bewildered by the entirety of the situation, because you don't even understand the most elementary of details. And in that, you finish your little spiel of news that isn't news by saying that the shooter's mom recently passed away. You're incorrect. No, she didn't. That is actually not the case. All right? You are in fact showing your retardation. You're showing your hand, Tom Llamas. No, his mother did not just die recently. His foster mother died recently. His parents died a long time ago. You don't even understand the most elementary of details in this situation. And yet still someone's paying you to bring us the news that we already knew. Tom Llamas, that's what you're doing. All right? You're making absolutely no sense. And what I got to say is, you're going to notice all sort of slips of the tongue from these people. All sort of slips of the tongue. What I got to let you know is they're not even in control of that. They really don't control what comes out of their mouth. And yeah, lots of times it does sound like gobbledygook. They do sound ignorant to no end. When he said that this dude's mother just died, no, that is not what happened. And yes, you are retarded. And yes, somebody's paying you to be retarded. Alright, so we're going to finish off on that note. And I'm going to just leave you with this guy's face. Tell me that he's not a narcissist right here. That guy. Pretending like he's concerned about this issue. We're balls deep up in lies, y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all next time about some more stuff. It is February the 24th, 2018.